All right, everyone, we're back with another episode of the VeeFam Sessions. I'm Mr. Messer, and I'm here with Benjamin Wong, podcaster, motivational speaker, entrepreneur, VeeFriend. I mean, the list goes on and on. Ben, how are you?
Hey, Rob, I am doing well. How about yourself?
I'm amazing. I can't thank you enough for coming on. I feel like you're, pumping out content. You're right behind Gary in that department. Just every platform I open up, you're right there. So, you definitely got on my radar, and I have been waiting to talk to you. And I'm so happy that day's here. First for the people that may not know you, can you just give a little 55-second background on who you are and what you're doing?
Yeah, so my name is Benjamin Wong. I am a kid entrepreneur, podcast host, speaker, all that good stuff. I got started when I was 11, just selling avocados on the street with my friends to get an extra buck to buy these bobbleheads. Over time, I've done a few podcasts, made collaborations, deals with people to be able to get to a point where I was able to buy a VeeFriend, get into the project, or VeeFriend 2, correction, VeeFriend 2 to get in the community. Now I run a company called Kid CEO Media, where I help other personal brands get into the NFT space, especially on the technical side. Speak to schools, work with nonprofits, and also, like you said, create a bunch of content.
Amazing. You had me at avocados, so let's go let's go there. So you're 11, and you obviously have entrepreneur in you. You literally bought avocados from the store. How did that go?
And to be honest, I think it's actually 9. I was just like thinking about that for a second. Star Wars was 2015, right? Star Wars was 2015, and so it was that year or close afterwards. So I think it was actually 9. I say 11. So I say 11, but I think it was actually 9. But
we'll call it 10.
Yeah, it was. Yes, somewhere around that. Somewhere around that. But yeah, I mean, it was the year of Star Wars. The Force Awakens came out, and so me and my friends were super excited about it. And then we really wanted these Funko Pop bobbleheads, so we would. And I think my friends did it more like, okay, let's just do what he says, and then we'll do something later, more so than the actual experience. But we all had a lot of fun. We got maybe don't try this at home, but we got like ladders from the garage. We would climb up trees and pick avocados, throw them in boxes, put them in the back of the van, drive down to the street corner, and just wave down every single person that we saw. And it was at a stop sign, so like they'd stop there and we'd go up and yell at them. And then we'd hire my sister and her friends to be our marketing, so they would get a giant sign and just hold it up like avocados $1, and so that was the start. Yeah.
That's amazing. And you kind of nonchalantly said, through the years, I was able to do some more deals. Can you elaborate on maybe one or two?
Yeah, so I guess my biggest one was kind of transitioning from Kid CEO to my podcast, Young Chap, that I work on with a partner, Kidpreneurs Academy, which is a kid entrepreneur. Right, is what it is, a kid entrepreneur academy, right? And so the thing that something I'm proud of was being able to work with them to kind of license my content over to them. I think that's been a highlight for me so far in my career.
That's amazing. And when you're orchestrating these deals and meeting these people and reaching out, are you doing everything, or do you have a support system or a team at home that has been kind of guiding you?
Yeah, I think at home is a keyword too. Like whenever I do something, I always work with my mom, get her advisement to see what I should do. I think over time I've kind of built other support networks too. Friends that have been in similar positions. And over time I've had teams, I've left teams, but that's a story for a different day. But I think at its core, I've always had my mom and my family, and then more recently friends to also bounce things off. But I think I'm very fortunate to have that kind of support network throughout this entire time.
That's amazing. It's amazing you have that, and it's amazing that you're able to kind of, explore all of your entrepreneurial tendencies and, interests to do that. I'm staying here for a moment because this is kind of on a personal level, this is so huge for me. I was an elementary school teacher for almost a decade, and I really implemented entrepreneurship and creativity and making businesses and advertising in my classroom, and I had a whole economy to it. And I saw how excited it made kids. And then you try to have the same conversation with someone even your age, still, young, but the system has kind of squeezed, beaten them down a little bit, and they've lost the creative juices, and they've had no in their, instilled in them, and I can't do this, I got to get a job, all of this. So I am so passionate about keeping that spark alive for as long as you can, and I think that's why I'm so attracted to Gary, because he does that on a day-to-day basis. So that's amazing that you're doing that. Do you find that as well, like with talking to anyone else your age?
Yeah, definitely. I've spoken to younger kids, and then I have, of course, friends my age, and I think there's a very noticeable difference. When you're young, you're obviously somewhat emotionally immature, but as a side note, effect of that is that you also are a lot more curious, open-minded. You say yes a lot more. I mean, you have nothing to lose. And I think that's a very powerful thing that all entrepreneurs have. I think a little bit, every kid is an entrepreneur. And over time, naturally, they all kind of find their own passions that they love more. But at the end of the day, there's a little bit of entrepreneurism in literally every single career. And so I think over time, that creativity, that open-mindedness fades, whether that's due to parental pressures, whether that's due to personal pressures, like they have to care for their family, they have to get a job. And obviously those are cases that I can't blame them. And then there are also other pressures like friend groups, possibly teachers or administrators or education or something that they watch on YouTube. There's countless things that can happen, but I think oftentimes, for the majority of cases, that creativity, that open-mindedness, and that curiosity does fade once you get to my age. Everyone kind of has their stories in their mind. Maybe they're planning a little bit about their future, and that's when all that stops a little.
Yeah, no, and it's profound. For you to have that perspective at such a young age. I'm just thinking, I'm thinking about when I was 15, and I was such a dipshit. So I'm really it's amazing to talk to you. And it sounds like, we spoke with your mom before we got on this, and she mentioned that you read 40 books to date, and we're talking, to this year to date. And, you're always reading, and it sounds like you're curious. So you're just kind of living that truth and sharing it with the world. So with that, when did you first hear the name Gary Vee?
First heard the name Gary Vee. I think it was in relation to sports cards. 2021 July, I want to say, maybe June, so somewhere around that. Maybe possibly a little earlier. It was around that. I know everyone has, because I've met people also in the VeeFriends community, and I always ask them that first. Everyone has a very specific story. I don't know exactly when, but I know my first big memory of him was in July 2021 when he was talking about sports cards. I think that was when I first watched him a lot, and then I remember I was homeschooled. And so this was my beginning of homeschooling I homeschooled myself after that. So I've been public schooled my entire life. I decided to homeschool myself in 2021 fall. And throughout those months, I consumed everything Gary Vee. I watched every single, weekly Vee. I'd watch a ton of the daily V's or, Instagram content, TikTok content, all that stuff. But I think the start of it was sports cards, July 2021.
Did you get into the sports card? I know you said you like buying and selling and the arbitrage. Did you get into that game?
I did. I lost quite a bit of money. I did though. I'm not to say that I would do it again because I lost money, but I'm fortunate that I actually learned a lot from those money losing opportunities. Like I bought a LaMelo Ball rookie card. I thought he was going to do really good. He did do pretty good, but I guess modern cards. And I don't know how much of a collector you are, but modern cards aren't doing so well because of overproduction.
Mm-hmm.
So I lost a little bit of money there. Or like I invested in I didn't invest. I bought these cards as part of a startup. I think AJ Vaynerchuk was an investor there too. And so I bought all these cards that were doing well, but I guess the entire startup kind of didn't do so well, and that the cards value actually didn't really change, but I guess everyone just exited the platform. So yeah, and I've done well in other places too. Like I bought more recently, I'm a big Rams fan. I'm out in LA. And so I bought a Matthew Stafford RPA, my prized possession.
Nice.
And I think I did pretty well on that buy. But yeah, I would say I'm probably a little bit net positive, not very much, like maybe a little bit. But
July was a tough time to get in because everything was fire. Everything was liquid fire, and it was super high. Yep. I to your point about me, I was in it deep as a kid. You know, got to high school, later junior high school, fell off of it. So, you know, lost some, sold some, whatever for other things. And then, you know, it was Gary that got me back into it. And I started buying some Lukas, and I couldn't afford the Giannis, but, you know, Luka when it was attainable. And then I saw how quickly I flipped that. I flipped it way too early. And then, you know, I was in for, you know, I'm still in it a little bit, but NFTs have taken the reins of most of, you know, my wallet and budget. But it's a great that you brought up the point about the lessons learned, because, you know, when they're skinning the game, that's when you learn the most, right? You remember those lessons.
Oh yeah.
So
that's a good way of putting it, because I used to do stock trading, and I've done a few summits now where I've talked about that, and it always comes up like paper trading, you know, trading with fake money. And I think I've tried it before, but it's never been a huge draw to me, because the lessons weren't as great when it's not real money. Even if it's $1, losing that $1, there's a lesson there. But if it's fake money and they give you like $1 million to imaginary, you know, buy things, the lessons are kind of lost. Even if I lose $500,000, it's like, okay, I'll just create a new account. Even if I lose $1 of real money,
totally,
that lesson is so much more great for me.
Totally, and it's not even just the actual money. It's, you know, you're playing the game differently. Like if there's real money involved, your focus is different. You are, you know, your attention to detail, just the emotion behind everything it's tough to simulate that. Yep. So you're into Gary. Obviously, VeeFriends comes across your radar. Now, July 2021, VeeFriends is already, the mint has already come and gone, right? So when was the first time that you saw VeeFriends then? Or heard about
September.
VeeFriends?
I remember August, I heard about like CryptoPunks. I would, you know, tell people close to me like, hey, look at this, like this is worth so much. You know, I was talking about CryptoPunks, Bored Apes, and then I heard about VeeFriends, and I got really curious about it. We started a podcast, me and my co-host Kamea, who's also a kid in the crypto space, and we started a podcast in October. But around that time, I was like, hey, my goal is when the market comes crashing down, you know, if I am the opposite and I come crashing up, and I'm in a position to buy a VeeFriend, that's my goal. And it was a very unattainable goal. Like at the time, it was like VeeCon was not something in the picture. It was like, I'll go to VeeCon in, you know, 2, 3, 4 years. I never thought I would own a VeeFriend ever. And that's when I first heard of it, September. It was a very unattainable dream. But then over time, especially when VeeFriend 2 came out, it was like, hey, you know, this is actually something that's possible, maybe even plausible. And that's when I got even more into it and really, really, really curious.
Amazing. Now, did you get into any of the book games at all, or were you just kind of staying in the VeeFriends series?
I did. So I bought a book game, Aftermarket. I was actually, I hit myself over this because I was at the live stream where Gary Vee talked about the 12 and a half
in
thing.
August. Yeah.
I was like at the live stream I watched the entire thing. You know, I was like, maybe I'll buy. I didn't have confidence. Not. I think it was. I knew he would create something cool, but it was like, you know, how cool can it be? You know, which later turned out to be not the best idea. But I did buy a book game about a rainbow diamond curiosity.
Oh, wow.
I think. And so I bought that one, and I bought it at like maybe $600. And then I was able to flip that to Jeremy. Actually, I flipped to Jeremy in exchange for the ETH to buy my second VeeFriend 2. So I don't want to put any more of my savings into the ecosystem, just because I was kind of running thin in my bank account from this. And so I just basically flipped my current NFT into a VeeFriend 2.
Awesome. Which is what?
So I got a Hungry Hammerhead in the pickleball courts. And then I also got a Vibe and Vampire in like the tornado one. And so there was a friend of mine, Ricky, and he really fell in love with my vampire, and I wasn't too in love with it. So I actually sold him my vampire. And so I have the cash now. I'm waiting to deploy it. I've come really close now to getting like a really, really good character at that price range that I sold my vampire for. I've come very close. Like I almost got a alert ape in the rose garden. So like you've seen this scene before?
Yeah. And I think I saw that you tweeted about this.
Yep, the alert ape in the rose garden, and I came very close to getting it, like hours maybe. I was close to getting it at 1 ETH. Because I was talking with the guy, they were considering it. I had a pretty good reasoning. There's another one that sold on a really good deal, and so I used that. And I was close to closing the deal, but then it's got sold. It got sold for double that. So, but there have been a few times where I've come close to buying something, then something happens. But it's okay. I'm patience. I'm just kind of hanging in there. But yeah, I'm waiting to pounce.
Amazing. I love the, I love the investing talk. I love how you have a pulse on it. So what was your first taste of the community? I know you mentioned that you trade with some buddies and you dropped Jeremy's name. What was your first taste of the VeeFriends community?
That's a really good question. I think it wasn't October, November of last year, but I think it was in the months leading up to VeeCon, like February, March, April was when I really, really got involved with the community. And especially when VeeFriend 2 came out, it started with a challenge that Sang Woo Kim, Mine for Run Club, he did this challenge that if you did this running challenge for 15 days, you would get a VeeCon ticket. And so I participated in that, and I met a lot of people that way. And then I think that was my first prelude into the community, was meeting people through that. It was only like 15, 20 people, but that was the first kind of prelude into it. And then it was really around VeeFriend 2 in April, I think. VeeFriend 2 is where I bought my VeeFriend 2, and then that was the start of the VeeFriends follow VeeFriends trend. And like there, I met so many people. Gary Vee followed me there. Like I met so many people in that time span. One by just like posting. I applied to VaynerMedia, and that I got a bunch of support there from different VeeFriends or just like meeting people over DM. And then also in my quest to get a VeeCon ticket, I met quite a few people.
I imagine.
Yeah.
And this is all documented on your Twitter, because now as you're saying things, I'm remembering seeing things when I was scrolling through. Talk to me about the challenge. What did you have to do for 15 days?
So 15 days we had to run. I think like you to run, and I was already into running, so I was like, this is perfect. So you had to run. You had to videotape yourself or a selfie or a screenshot running for 15 days, or maybe even it was 30. So it was something like that. I didn't end up winning, but he did end up giving me a ticket anyways.
Okay, that was my next question.
Very fortunate.
So you
very grateful to him.
If you ran for 15 days, you were kind of in the drawing to do it. You were in the running to get it.
Yes.
No pun intended.
Yep. You were in the running to get a
amazing.
And I didn't end up winning, but it was I had all but given up at that point because I responded to every Gary Vee tweet, every hey, you want to come to VeeCon? But I guess I never thought about just like asking some people. So 1 week before, it was kind of like I didn't expect to go, but I wanted to try. I just didn't want to regret anything, and so I just DM'd a few people. I think I DM'd Jeremy, I DM'd Sangwoo, I might have DM'd a few more people, and said, hey, do you have any tickets still available? And I think 4 responded. And then 2 of them, though, I came really close with them. There wasn't, like they didn't trust whoever to be the moderator of the ticket, or they wanted to learn more about this thing. So a few of them fell through. But Sangwoo, who I had a pretty close relationship at that point, was like, hey, want to come? Come. He actually bought a few tickets at the peak.
Oh.
And then they fell, and so I think he didn't want to cut his losses, so he had all his tickets that he just kind of had, and so I borrowed one from him, and then I was gonna go myself, but then my issue was that one, it would be all the hotel rooms were booked up, and so the best room I could get was like this 2-bedroom. No, it wasn't a suite. It was just the cheapest room I could get was a 2-bedroom, nice place, and so I was like, okay, I just don't want to get this big room by myself. It's kind of a waste. So hey. I can call someone, and if they can come down here, that would be awesome. So a friend of mine, Marquise, who I met online through Instagram and through podcasting, I invited him on, you might have seen this reel that we talked about this, but I invited him 1 week notice. And it was a Sunday, VeeCon was Thursday. And I said, hey, can you make it down to Minneapolis? I can get you a ticket. He said, yes, possibly. Let me go ask my dad. So he bought his plane ticket. We didn't even know if I could get him a ticket because I was waiting on a response. And then he got the ticket. We booked the hotel room that day. And then we had to figure out how to get the hotel room. I don't think I talked about this in the reel because we called like every Hilton and Marriott, and they said, sorry, you have to be over 21 to check in. And so basically what we did is, and this is where a lot of trust came in. I knew Sang pretty well. I've talked to him like over the phone, but we never like met in person. And so we had to put the hotel room down in his name, under his name, and put the hotel room down, and then we just had hope that everything worked out. And so luckily, everything did work out, went off without a hitch, and it was a very good experience. But it was a roller coaster.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm sure a lot of people think, about you and, the younger generation, be like, oh man, if only I was that young, but they don't think about the little things like being able to book a hotel room and check in. That's amazing.
Yep. And it's looking back on it, I'm very glad I did it. I'm still kind of, because it cost, I paid for it myself through this like projects I did myself, or garage sale money, whatever. And so still digging out of the financial hole, but I'm very, very glad I did it.
So and it's, looking at your stuff here, it looks like you met and took a selfie with every celebrity that walked through that place. Were you just hanging out in that area?
So I'll let you in the secret. I guess it's not really a secret anymore because VeeCon is done. But there was 2 people that we got selfies with that I think we're the only ones to get selfies with these 2 people. And that was Mila Kunis and Seth Green. And what happened was they had a green room. And this green room was on the side of the stage, to the right of the stage. And it was where the VIP, the Delta VIP lounge.
I saw it. Game. I got to go back there for 10 minutes, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep. The backstage room where everyone was mingling. What happened was the place where all the speakers sit at was actually the closest outwards, and so there's a curtain that blocks that view. But the curtain wasn't fully closed. I don't think it was intended to be, because there's a very big crack where you could see in. And so a few friends of mine that I went to, they actually snuck in backstage, but this was afterwards. But before that, we just saw like Mila Kunis out of the corner of our eye. And so we just waved her down. We were actually behind a wall, so no one could see us. And so we were in between a wall and in between that little, I don't know, a wall, half wall. And so we saw Mila Kunis, and so we were like, hey, can you come take a selfie? And so she came out. We took a selfie from a distance, and then same thing with Seth Green, and then same thing with Gary Vee, who came out, and then I think that was it. We tried to get Logan Paul, but then at that point, they already blocked off that area. that's my secret to getting so
I
many
love
selfies.
it. I'm so happy that you are able to, talk about this high level stuff and put out this, meta content, but still at the core, still just an autograph and selfie hound. Because that's what I did when I was a kid.
I have a book now that has my 12 and a half book, and it has in the front Gary Vee signing the first page, and in the back it was Seth Green, Beeple, who used his left hand. He wrote that it was a very valuable signature. Beeple, a few other celebrities, and then I had everyone I met that was a V friend each take a page in the book that meant something to them, and then do whatever they want on that page. That. So if you saw the creature world and an NFT world where you had to throw a beanbag into the giant creature world, and so that one I spent, me and my friend all together, we were there for about 25 tries in order to get it right. So we just like went back in line over and over and over again. We spent like maybe more than an hour, maybe 2 hours, just trying to get that right. And so at the end of the day, I won it. They're like, hey, Ben, if you really don't get it, you can come back later. We'll give you a bag. It's not that big a deal. But I was like, no, I wanted to win. So I just did it over and over again. Yeah. Luckily, my friend Marquise, he was just, yeah. I mean, he did the same thing before. And so he was like, yeah, I mean, I'm all good. I'm just talking to some people. Take as much time as you need. I'll be here. And then so eventually I got it. And then I think that entire creature world team, they chose the page Perseverance. It was either Perseverance or Tenacity, and they chose that page, and they all signed that page.
That's so cool.
That was a pretty meaningful thing.
What before we move on, what's that Beeple Alpha? What was the left hand? Does he not sign with his left hand?
He doesn't. He's right-handed, and so I think I have a picture. So basically, I saw Beeple sitting in the crowd by himself. You know Maya, right?
She was just on last week.
And so I bumped into her for the first time. And so we said hi. And then I was like, hey, by the way, she was also trying to collect signatures. And so I was like, hey, by the way, Beeple's over there, just sitting by himself. And so she went over. But I saw Beeple. I was just walking down the stairs, and I see Beeple just kind of chilling there by himself. People are walking by him. I don't think they know it's him because everyone's just ignoring him. And so he's awesome. There with Guy Oseri. And I don't know the other two. But he's there with Guy Oseri, just kind of chilling there. And so he's just kind of a very fun guy. And so he was like, it's too boring to sign with my right hand. And so he signed with his left hand. And so he wrote Beeple with his left hand.
Actually wrote very valuable. That's amazing.
Yep. So yeah, that's the very cool experience. It was, I think, the most awkward of my celebrity meetings, because normally it's like, hey, Farouk, can you take a selfie with me? Awesome. Done. But like Beeple was like, hey, come sit down. And so I was just kind of kneeling there in between the chairs while they were all talking, and he was taking 20 minutes on my
That's so
signature. Fun. But yeah, fun experience.
Awesome. So, you mentioned, Maya and a lot of your buddies. Do you have, like, is there a private Discord if you're 18 and under of VeeFriends? Or like, how did you guys meet? Like, I think it's awesome that you guys are palling around together at VeeCon. And you're all working on things. Do you collaborate in some kind of a think tank?
Yeah, definitely. It's something that I've been actually trying to work on for a while now, is putting together like a little bit of a think tank. Before this, this might inspire me to actually go do it later today. But yeah. So Maya, I saw her initially. She posted, "Hey Gary, you can have a ticket," and then it kind of blew up a little bit. And then she got her ticket, and I saw that. I was at IKEA, I think, and I saw that, and I followed her. And then so she knew and she followed me back. So we both knew where we were. We both knew we were going to be there, and then we actually kind of helped each other. I don't think we even knew it, because she met a few people in her hotel. And because of that, I was like in an Uber with my friend getting to the stadium, and I was like, all right, this is what this is what he's wearing. And then so I told my friend that we were on the lookout for these people, kind of like a wanted list, wanted Klon, wanted Farouk, but we knew what they were all wearing. So it made it a lot easier. And so I think we kind of helped each other indirectly, or like I would see someone, I'd bump into her, and I'd be like, by the way, that person's over there, go. And then she'd go run off and go meet that person. So yeah. And then afterwards we did a few interviews and then yeah. But that's actually good reminder for me to go work on this mastermind.
I love it. And I would definitely encourage you to do that. I was just watching this documentary on Steven Spielberg, and it's amazing. They have all this old footage of him and like all the other like big directors before they were big directors, Martin Scorsese. I don't know how much you know about, older movies and directors, but Martin Scorsese and George Lucas and all of these guys that went on to, create these unbelievable franchises and movies, but they were just anybody else just hanging together, throwing ideas off of each other, and they went on to build, unbelievable things. So that's kind of how I think about younger people in the space. Well, anyone in the space, but particularly you guys, because you're so ahead of the curve and just have a really strong pulse on not only the tech and all this stuff, but the good, soft skills, the ingredients that Gary talks about to really know how to do it, make a difference and make a big impact in a big way. So I think about that a lot when I see content from or talk to any of you guys. So I'm definitely a buy. I would invest in that group, that mastermind. So before, on that note, and before we move on to other topics here, the funny thing that I talked about with Maya is that she took her short amount of time with Gary and asked him a question, and he ended up using it in his Instagram, and you had the same experience. You went up to him in your little, the little side stage area there, and you said if you could go back when you were a kid, and I don't remember exactly how you worded it, but you asked him what piece of advice you would give to yourself. And it was awesome because you had the footage and then he did it from the other vantage point from D-Rock. So what was that experience like? Not only running up to him, but when you realized that it was being used by Team Gary Vee?
Yep. So the entire experience, I think, was so quick that I don't even remember how I felt. Because we saw Gary, he came out and he was like, guys, we have to be quick. People are going to see me. They're going to start crowding. So I had like 20 seconds to get a selfie, which the selfie actually turned out to, I wasn't even in the selfie. I was like halfway out. I had to do a selfie, a video, and have him sign my book at the same time. And so this was in like 20 seconds. And so I had my friend MJ. He knew that he was also a Gary Vee fan, but he knew that I was like a really, 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 really big Gary Vee fan. So he was recording content. At the same time, the video was a little shaky because he was giving him a hat from his clothing brand. So yeah, it was just really, really cool. It was so quick. I don't even know how I got so many things at once, but it was like, all right, book in hand, selfie, and then while he's signing, asking him the question. I knew they were recording it because I saw the camera people there. I knew they were recording it, and actually they beat me to it. If anyone wants a sense of how fast that their team is, they actually beat me to the video because that Tuesday that I got back, when I was going to edit it, I saw they posted it on the Gary Vaynerchuk, the kind of draft channel, and they posted it. So I was like, all right, this is a sign for me to go do this. So in 1 hour, I made my own version and then shot it out. Yeah, and then a few weeks later, I get a bunch of texts at 5 a.m. in the morning saying, Ben, you're probably not up, but like, hey, look, Gary just posted you. And so that was a very surreal experience. And then a few weeks later, I think this was like 2 weeks ago when I was in Austin, I hadn't gone on social media for like the entire week. I pull it up for the first time and I see Gary Vee's video with Maya, and I texted her, hey, Maya, awesome. 2 for 2 now. And so
must be so
very,
fun for
very,
you
very
guys.
surreal.
Yeah, and shout out to MJ, who got proper credit from the Gary vantage point, because you could see him in the background taping you on your phone. But yeah, shout out to him for not only for getting it. Like I missed out on a video experience because someone forgot to hit it that was supposed to be taping. So things happen. So it's amazing you have that documented. And then
it was incredibly stressful, but looking back on it, so fun. We were like both there in the stadium. It was burning hot because the sun was coming down, and we were both there. and like we'd run through the same thing before we like let's gym quick. All right, so you have the video, you have the book ready to get signed, you have the selfie, so I'll take a picture of you and then we'll flip it around, do it with me, and then you'll do the video for the content, all that stuff. Make sure you get this angle, make sure you do cinematic mode, all that stuff. So super stressful because every single time I'm thinking, all right, what if they didn't record this? We can't redo it. But luckily for the most part, other than my selfie with Gary Vee that I was like half like looking off on because it was happening so quick. Other than that, for the most part, it went off.
You're gonna have a lot. There's a lot of potential content for you getting ready for VeeCon next year on how to best prepare for all these moments.
Oh yeah,
amazing. Yeah, of course.
Rob, can you give me 1 second? My dog wants to leave my garage. 1 second.
Awesome.
Right, he's good.
So,
he's good.
Wrapping up that weekend on May 23rd, 2022, you tweeted, "I will own a VF1 before VeeCon 2023," manifesting it. So
yes,
it's coming. It's coming.
Thank you for bringing that up because I forgot about that tweet myself. But yes, I guess during that time I manifested a lot of things that ended up coming true. That month and the month after that. So yeah, I put that out there, manifesting a VeeFriend 2. And then I had a dream the other day, like 2 days ago, that I was opening a VeeFriend box and I got a epic out of 25 slip and slime, whatever the name is. Stoic slime. Yep. Stoic slime. I don't know why, because I've never been a huge particular fan of that character or anything like that.
That's interesting.
I just had a dream like that. So the boxes are literally here. There's 2 boxes that haven't been opened yet. And then the boxes above that was for Uno. But yeah, so if I end up getting that, then I don't
that
even
would
know
be
what
unbelievable.
That, but,
well, we have the clip, and I'm sure you'll document if you do it. Are you gonna rip them? Or are you gonna keep them sealed?
The plan was to keep them sealed, but what I hear is that it's not a very good bet because the seal isn't that great.
Right.
So it's pretty easy to just reseal it if you want to. Because like the Unos, I'm not opening mine just because I just kind of did a mental cost analysis. Like, hey, I only have 1 shot with each Uno pack, or I have 1 shot to get it. Versus these, I have 52 shots to get a good card. So the Uno cards are just sitting there. I might open 1 or 2. I'll probably buy 1 secondary market to just play with. But I'm thinking of just leaving those. I wanted to get them PSA sealed. That would be super cool. But I guess they don't do that because I asked.
Oh, they should. That's a good thing to explore. They should.
They should.
So, and it's amazing to hear about your little community of, your friends within this VeeFriends community. But what does that even word? What does that word even mean to you? When I say the word community, what does that mean?
A group of people connected by values that are greater than financial, monetary, or professional. I think that's the best way I can put it. Just a group of people who are connected by values like generosity, connected by values like kindness or fun, just having fun, and that goes far greater than professional quid pro quos or financial benefits. I think that's true community, and I've in my somewhat short time in the VeeFriends community, even though I found out about the project September, it's only been a few months since I've been really engaged. I played pickleball with Connor, a guy I met because he was in the VeeFriends community, and I lended him my pickleball utility, and we ended up playing pickleball together in Austin, and that was really fun. I met him through VeeFriends. I'm going to go to the pickleball tournament in Newport Beach this Saturday, where the VeeFriends meetup will be. Jeremy, yourself, Sungwoo, who was, his generosity was unlocked so many doors for me, and just people who DM me that I've met. Just people that are connected by values greater than professional or financial.
I love that. And I feel like, one of the reasons I started this was because of the community and all the things that individuals and other people that go on to build other communities can kind of take the blueprint for, and mimic that.
Yep.
So talk to me about, talk to me about Good CEO. I want to hear more about what you're doing there.
Yeah, so Good CEO originally was a podcast that I did. It was about financial literacy. Over time, I transitioned that into a different podcast. And so Good CEO Media is kind of a loose term now to just describe anything that I do.
That's your umbrella.
I experiment a lot. So like I did it's an umbrella. Like I did a project with MJ, the guy I brought to VeeCon. He has a clothing brand that he's been pretty successful at. And so we actually did a NFT project for his clothing brand because his dream was to always create this cartoon called Genius Pilot Academy about helping kids find their genius. And so we did an NFT project there. And Good CEO, we did all the technical minting, the marketing, the how-to guides. And so I use that in order to do that deal. Or I'll use it sometimes if I do a podcasting thing, I'll use that as a tie-in or even things that I'm working on in the future. Just basically an umbrella for anything that my heart desires or wants to do, something that comes up, I just throw it under the Good CEO Media umbrella. And
I saw you were going around to schools giving talks.
Yep. So I did that briefly. It was actually the day I went to VeeCon, that Thursday, where I did a talk to a few hundred students at a school. And then I'm actually returning that into a bigger thing. I'm working with Giving Tuesday on a project called Operation Inspiring America to talk to schools all across the country to do this on a much larger scale. And so that's the larger mission here is I really do want to impact and make other kids' lives a much happier, better place. And so that's my next.
Gotcha.
That's my next.
So when you're talking to these groups, do you have your kind of motivational speaker happiness hat on, or is it a Web3 kind of intro?
I'm experimenting. Okay. I've never done a Web3 NFT thing. Just because I think something a little more generic first.
Sure.
That they can capture everyone. Then if someone asks me about it, I'm always ready to answer. But it's more about, specifically with the stuff we're doing with Giving Tuesday, about generosity and helping every kid, whether it be business, because their businesses help the world for the most part, whether it be a business or through a nonprofit that they're creating themselves, or even a few kids who did like bake sales and all the money went to cancer research, or kids who had their own like keyboard construction companies. And just basically helping one, inspiring them, but two, enabling them and providing them the resources, whether that's just advice, whether that's, connections to people to take their things to the next level, providing them the resources to make their dreams and their initiatives a reality or something bigger than they could ever imagine.
That's fantastic, Ben. That's awesome. That's the goal. And just, I'm so excited. Like I have like the energetic, juices flowing, just for, what you're going to build and all the lives that you're going to just make better. It's fascinating. So, you've had a lot of experiences that a lot of, I don't want to say normal kids, but, a lot of, you don't see 15-year-olds going out and giving talks on kindness and generosity. You don't see people writing eloquent, cover letters and posting on Twitter to these huge companies. Do you have other people in your other circles that maybe you're friendly with and are trying to talk to about this? Do you kind of just do your own thing? How is that part of this whole picture for you?
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, I feel like the community that I surround myself with The people that I filled up my contact book with, other young people. I think what I do is kind of the norm, not the exception, in a good way, because that always inspires me to do even greater and greater things. And also provides me with people that I don't have to explain the background. If I say that something that most people would be like, wow, it's kind of like I text MJ about we're trying to get a South by Southwest panel. And so, normally I would explain a lot, but for him, it was just like, hey, yeah, I'm in. It wasn't as big a deal. So it makes it easy to do collaborations. It makes it easy to get advice when these are all things that people have experienced before, or vice versa. If it's something that I've done that they're trying to do, like Chloe is a friend of mine. She runs a nonprofit called Chloe Cares, and we both do homeschooling with community college, dual enrollment. And so I'll always talk to her about, hey, you took this class. How was it? Is it something that I should do? And things like that. So I think it's been very, very, very helpful just to be in this community, because everything that I'm doing is normalized, and that it inspires me.
That's amazing.
To keep going.
And that old adage, I'm sure you've heard, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So I really enjoy and appreciate that perspective, because it's always like, I need to explain about my lifestyle or what I do to the normal people, but I'm just going to surround myself with people that are like me and have similar interests and that are going to pick me up.
And I think that's a beauty of community, specifically the VeeFriends community, is with everything else, or we'll use the normal people, right? Everyone else other than the VeeFriends is, I do have to explain a lot, like accountability, generosity, like, VeeFriend traits to people. But whenever I'm playing pickleball with Connor, or I see Jeremy, or I'm working with Sung on a project, or this Saturday when I'll see more VeeFriends, I don't have to explain all that. It's kind of like, yeah, you understand what NFTs are, you understand what VeeFriends are. I don't have to spend 2 hours educating you about Gary Vee's story and then the start of VeeFriends and what these Axe tokens do, which is always a fun thing to do. But it just makes it easy when we can just talk and not have to go through the background. But I think that's
the power of technology. The world is just smaller now. When I was growing up, I couldn't build a community of friends outside of the people on my street or that I went to school with. So it is an amazing time, and I love that you're taking advantage of it. Favorite character? You mentioned the alert ape. Do you have a favorite character? Okay.
My Hungry Hammerhead. My Hungry Hammerhead is my favorite character. It was completely random, to be honest. I hadn't thought about it before I was assigned my Hungry Hammerhead, but I think that is my favorite character. I'm always hungry. I used to have a T-shirt with the shark on it, ironically, that said I'm always hungry, and I would wear it to bed as a pajama for like 5 years. So I actually haven't even thought about that. So thank you for bringing that up, because that's a good coincidence.
Awesome. Happy to help.
Hungry Hammerhead. It's a cute character. It's a very cute character, like the eyes, the way it twinkles. I think it's a good animification, if that's a word, a good animal version of me that I relate to. I'm hungry, so is the Hammerhead, and I vibe with it a lot. More so the vampire, I liked it. I didn't love it, so I sold it. But the Hammerhead, I really vibed with. So I think that's my favorite character. I think Hammerhead. And I really like Alert Ape and the Giraffe. But I think the Hammerhead and the Alert Ape, having those two in my vaults is
amazing. And is there a character? What character do you feel like you need to spend more time with? So in terms of to get their kind of characteristic, instill more of their characteristics in you.
That's a really good question. Really good question. For a long time, it was accountable anteater. For a long time, I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of people have trouble with is accountability. But I think over time, I've ingrained that so much into myself that I think I'm doing a lot better there. That's a tough one. Um,
Oh,
I'll say accountable anteater, just because I think there's still, I still have room to
amazing.
grow there. Definitely.
I think everyone does, really.
Accountable anteater.
I shouldn't speak so generally, but most
Yep.
people.
Yep. Yeah. I think accountability is one of the harder ones, but it's so important. Maybe perspective, but I think about my perspective.
Oh, okay.
I'll give it a tie. Perspective pigeon and accountable anteater. I think those are two that I think with like kindness, generosity. I think I'm good there. I can always be better, but I think I'm pretty good there. But I think perspective pigeon, accountable anteater are definitely things that I
So,
can touch
I
on.
mean, just watching you for far, just speaking with you for this short time, it's very obvious the road that you're going on. And like you said, you're hungry. I, you know, and I thinking back to how you applied for VeeFriends, if VeeFriends said, "Listen, we want to hire you, but you have to work with us for the next 55 years." So pretty much all ambitions of doing your own thing are out.
Ooh,
Would you take that deal today, or would you just build?
I wouldn't take that deal. As much as I love VeeFriends, um, as much as I love VeeFriends, I don't think I would take that deal, even if it was my dream job, like the CEO
Mhm.
of JP Morgan Chase, arguably one of the most power. I don't think I don't think there is a job that if the president of the United States for 55 years, I don't think there's a single job that I would take for that long, just because I really value my freedom and being able to say, hey, I don't love this thing anymore, and I can go shift to a different thing. And I think that might be dampened by locking myself into something for a long time. So to answer your question, I don't think I would. Sorry, Andy.
Well, you're an entrepreneur.
But
I'm
I
sure
don't
they'll
think I
all
would.
understand over there. So amazing. I before we head into our last segment, I saw a piece of content that gave me an idea. Um, it was when you had to describe, you saw a picture of items from the 90s and you had to describe what it was, which you did very well,
Yes.
considering, your age. So, if you're willing to participate, I have another little game. I don't have pictures, but if you're open to it, I'm going to give you some names of
Let's go.
characters from the 90s, and I want you to say real person or cartoon
Okay.
character. Okay. And if you know who they are, feel free to elaborate.
Okay, let's go.
What show or movie they're from. Actually, these are all TV shows. All TV shows. Here we go. So, cartoon character or real person? Carl Winslow.
I think it's too obviously a real character to be a real character, a real person. I'm
Okay.
going to say it's a character from a TV
real
show.
person or a cartoon? Doug Funny.
Cartoon.
Real person from a TV show or a cartoon character in a TV show? Eric
Cartoon.
Cartman.
Cartoon. Real person. I have no idea who any of these people are. I think he's a real person. He sounds too realistic to be a cartoon
Joey
character.
Gladstone. This is going to be much better post production.
Joey Gladstone. Character.
A real person or a
Gladstone seems
cartoon?
like one of those names that is
Carlton
cartoon.
Banks. Tommy Pickles.
Cartoon. Let's
So
switch it up.
I think
person.
you went 1 for 6 on those. So Carl Winslow.
Oh, wow.
You got Doug Funny is a
did they get
cartoon
right?
character from a show called Doug.
Okay.
Are you there, Ben? Oh, sorry. I think I rugged.
Yep.
Awesome.
All good.
Let
All
me make
good.
sure this is recording. All right, perfect. So thanks for playing. So before we head to our last segment, by the way, those shows. Did you watch any Nickelodeon growing up?
I did not. I
Gotcha.
watched a lot of Disney Channel, HGTV. We watched a lot of. I watched a lot of CNN growing up. Like from 9 to 13. A lot of news I would be fascinated with. Yeah, but Disney Channel growing up was never big with Nickelodeon. I had an
Sure,
older
yeah.
sister, and I feel like that always influences what you watch, because when you're a first child, you watch the stereotypical like kid shows, but then like my little sister watches like Vampire Diaries when she's like 11 or 12, and so I think that partly influenced it. But yeah, I think Disney Channel is what I grew up with, then HGTV, and then some news at around maybe 11 or 12 when I started getting interested in watching news.
Before we head to our last segment, I just want to thank you again for coming on. You are fascinating to talk to. You're churning out content like crazy. It's evident that you're following Gary's content model to at least some extent. And I just love all of what you're putting out to the world: kindness, generosity, encouraging people, especially young people, to, follow their dreams and be entrepreneurs and live life to the fullest. So, I thank you for that and being a great ambassador to this community. So,
yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's honestly, it's so amazing to be part of the community, and if I can provide valuable benefit
I love
to
it. And I'm going to post, all of your links and things in the show notes, but is there anything you want to shout out in particular?
Nope, not particularly. I mean, if anyone has a question or if they want to get in touch, if they're a VeeFriend, want to connect, always happy to connect with more people. So you can shoot me an email, ben@kidceo.co. And I don't know how much of your audience is on Twitter, but if you're on Twitter, you can DM me, Ben Wong.
Amazing.
With the
all right. So this last segment is called Micro Macro Spitfire. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions really quick. You can give a macro answer, just a simple yes, no, or one word, or you can get really micro and kind of get the microscope out and explain why. Totally up to you. All right. So if someone is getting into VeeFriends for the first time, who's the one person that needs to be followed? A favorite teacher you had growing up,
Jeremy.
and one reason why?
That one's so tough. Because a lot of my teachers still follow me, like on Facebook. So there's a chance they might hear this. That one's so tough. There are 3, excluding after I homeschooled. I think that's a different story. But there's like 3 teachers in my elementary school career. No, actually 4. But there was one that really influenced me the most, and her name was Miss Martinet. I went to a Montessori school up until the 3rd grade, and then in the 4th grade I went to a public school, and she was, I think, the perfect transition for me, in making sure I felt safe, comfortable in that pretty drastic move, and so I think she is at the top because there's just in that timing what I needed. That role was a much bigger hole to fill, than later on. But I've had many amazing teachers that have really influenced me. But I think in that particular timing, I needed someone like that the most, and so I think that's
amazing.
That's why I would put it. I would put it there.
The Time Machine Tiny Ogre book game can be traded for what?
A choice of any of Gary's goes. Like you're literally time machining back to the mint day and you can have a choice of any of the ghosts, even if you have to pay a little bit. If you can have a choice of any of the ghosts, I think
get your ogres.
Yeah.
If you only could keep one social media platform, if all the other ones were to disappear and you could only keep one, what would you keep?
Ooh.
VeeCon 2023
Right
will
now,
be
Twitter.
in what city?
You're making me think here. I will say, I think one of them is going to be in Canada by the end of the 4 VCons. One of them is going to be in Canada. I don't think it'll be this year. It won't be in LA. It won't be in Chicago either. I don't think it'll be in a big city. Minneapolis is a big city, but not like in New York, LA, Chicago. It's not going to be in Austin. I don't think that's Gary's vibe. I want to say something like a Seattle, something like maybe a basketball arena, and I'm trying to think which arenas he has personal connections to.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe like Denver, a Seattle, somewhere that has a basketball team, a mid-level team that has a great arena, in one of those kind of in-between cities. They're not like a small town, but they're not NYC, they're not in LA, not Chicago. Like another Minneapolis. I don't think it'll be Minneapolis again, but a basketball arena, a sporting arena in one of those mid-tier cities. Denver, Seattle, maybe Tennessee, somewhere there. I don't think it'll be Florida either. That's my best answer. A basketball or similar sporting arena in a mid-tier city that's on the rise.
I've tweeted this out, but and I think other people have said this too. But he's definitely. I feel like there's something to the St. Louis Toronto thing. I mean, Toronto is definitely the city to have it in Canada. I don't know if there's a basketball. Yep. I know they don't have a basketball team, professional at least in St. Louis, but something to look out for. Your favorite movie?
This is so hard because every single time I leave a movie, it's like, this is my favorite movie. The one movie that I've rewatched multiple times over and I've never gotten bored of was Crazy Rich Asians. I rewatched that movie I think 5 times so far.
Awesome. Paper Hands Pony or the Koala?
In favorite movie.
Gratitude Gorilla or Patient Pig?
I just love koalas. Gratitude Gorilla. I feel like the Gratitude Gorilla it has a more dominant vibe to it, just like the Alert Ape, where these are the heavyweight characters, both literally but also figuratively. Like, these are the heavyweight characters. The gorillas, the apes, the pandas, the elephants are these are the pillar stones. They all happen to be larger characters, but they're the pillar stones of VeeFriends, and I think it feels more.
Would you rather have a 2-hour group dinner access with Gary, you and 9 other people, or a 10-minute one-on-one session?
I am someone who throughout my life has loved listening on conversations more than speaking to myself. Like, even at family dinners, for the most part, I like to listen a lot, and then I'll interject once or twice. So I would choose a 2-hour dinner conversation, just because I think I would learn so much from just being in that environment and hearing things than I would in a 10-minute conversation, even if it was one-on-one. So I think easy answer.
And lastly,
the group dinner.
If Gary says, Ben, I'll come on your podcast, but you can only ask me one question, and I'll answer it. What are you asking him?
I asked him that if he was 15, what would he tell himself? I think my next question would be, Gary in his life has done so many things, and he's all about reducing regret. is there anything that he does
Wow. That's a
regret
good one.
or would do differently?
That's a really good one, and a great spot to leave it with. Ben, you're the man. I really appreciate this so much, and I hopefully we can't wait to stay connected.
Oh yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for having me. By the way, maybe I'll ask him about that next year's VeeCon. But yeah, thank you for having me. Super great being on. I hope I provided
Take
some
care.
value to everyone. And